everybody, this is attorney Arkady Frekhtman, and welcome to Last Week Tonight, where we read your questions and answer them. So let's go to the first question. The first question is from a Daniel Herring, and he says, can you please make a video about getting rear-ended by a dump truck? He was a passenger, and just the usual outcomes on cases like that. And then we had a little bit of a chat in the comments, and then he said further, he lives in Decatur, Georgia, right near Atlanta. The case has been going on for 2 years, and he's had numerous shots in his back and one epidural, and now he's hurt again, and they got him going back to 2 more epidurals and physical therapy, but of course, you don't hear nothing from the adjuster. So, it's really hard to say like exactly how much you're gonna get in a case just from that information, but I think being in Atlanta, having a dump truck, usually dump trucks will have large insurance policies. It sounds like he's not at fault and he's got some serious injuries. He's got epidural steroid injections and a lot of physical therapy. And it sounds like he's still treating even after 2 years. So I would say definitely, keep in close communication with your lawyer. Try to build the case as strongly as possible. If you need anything else like a percutaneous discectomy or a spinal surgery, that could make the case even more valuable. But I think, don't do it just for that. I mean, I think you have enough based on what you're describing here. You have a serious injury. You have what sounds like good liability, rear-ended by a dump truck, and dump truck should have enough insurance, should be like $1 million or more, but definitely get that excess and umbrella to make sure that you know the full insurance limits of that dump truck. And the fact that, you don't hear anything from the adjuster, well, of course not, because the adjuster is there to protect the insurance company, right? They're just there to monitor the case and pay out as little as possible or delay the case. They're not there to be fair and to pay you out, so don't expect that. You have to have a lawyer who's going to be very, very aggressive and is going to make them pay. They're not going to pay on their own. You got to make them pay. So that's very, very important. Okay, let's go to the next question. The next question or comment is from Blake Woodcrest, and he says, you're the absolute best. Oh, thank you, Blake. I try. I'm doing my best. I try to listen to your comments, respond to the viewers. It's all about, the beautiful people out there. It's all about you guys. I'm just a conduit. I'm just here as a lawyer trying to do my job, trying to help people like you. So I thank you for that. Okay, let's go to the next question. It's from Ella Dawes. And she says, is a person with a confirmation ICD-9 code, subdural hemorrhage, following injury with open intracranial wound considered incompetent? Well, that's an interesting question. Now, I don't know if they would be considered incompetent, because to be declared incompetent, you really have to apply to what's known as the mental hygiene part, and there's a special part in the courts, and then you would have to have affidavits from doctors declaring someone to be incompetent. The judge would evaluate all that and then make a decision. So I think each state has their own rules about that. But the injuries they describe about a subdural hemorrhage, now that basically means that's between the skull and then the brain. You have the dura, and under the dura, there's a hemorrhage or a hematoma. That's pretty severe bleeding inside the brain, or intracranial, also inside the head wound. Though that's a pretty serious injury. In fact, we just had a case recently where we had a subdural hemorrhage after a pedestrian was struck by a car, and we were able to settle that case for $1 million. And that was the entire insurance policy of that defendant car that struck our client. And in the beginning, they weren't going to pay. They were fighting us, but we said, look, it's a subdural hemorrhage, and we gave them all the evidence. And we said, if you don't pay the $1 million, fine, we'll go to court, but we're going to ask for $5 million, because this is worth much more. This is a brain injury. And then they finally caved in and settled. And that was a case, I believe, with Allstate. But so that's a serious case. Okay, the next comment, AMC flight attendant. And he or she says, "Aw, so cool that you read my question. Thank you so much. You are the Rockin Attorney. Thank you for taking the time to answer everyone's questions. You have a huge heart, and that certainly comes through in your videos. Have a beautiful day." Oh, thank you so much. That's great to hear, good comments from viewers. I'm grateful that everyone is, happy. They're watching our channel. They're learning from us. That's what we're here for. So, that gives me a lot of joy that everyone is, people are happy. Yeah, and absolutely, absolutely. I'd be happy to read your question and answer it. Okay, the next question is from Horatio Valdez, and he asks, after medical and lawyer fees, what's her real settlement? And he's referring to, he's actually referring to a case about $1 million where I talk about how to win $1 million in a car crash lawsuit. So I believe, the real settlement is just under $700,000 because if the fees, the expenses are kept relatively low, which they should be, expenses shouldn't really be more than a few $1,000s if it's going to be settled. Now, if you're going to go to trial, the expenses could be higher because then you have to pay. Let's say a doctor says, okay, I'll testify, but I need to cancel all my surgeries. I want $10,000. And then you need like 2 doctors or 3 doctors or 4 doctors. Right now you're running up to $40,000 or maybe $50,000 in expenses. So then that could affect the amount that the client gets because the lawyer has to front that and pay that to these doctors, right? But when you have something like this, where it was settled, I believe that case was settled without calling the doctors. So the expenses are relatively low, like filing a lawsuit is $200 and RJI is $95. You might have depositions, a few hundred, so it adds up to like 2, 3, 4,000, but that won't really affect it. It's $1 million. So then the client would get about right under 700,000. And then the same person asks a follow-up question. He says, what's the average value of an ACL reconstruction? I was driving for Lyft and was T-boned. I have had 4 back injections, a wrist arthroscopic surgery for a torn ligament, bulging discs, and spasms on the lower back, and have surgery this coming week for ACL reconstruction. I also had stem cell and PRP injections. I think that's a platelet-rich plasma, PRP. Does that look like a decent payout? I'm in California and have attorneys already. I just love how you explain your videos. Oh, thank you again. Thank you so much. Everyone's so kind. So, ACL reconstruction should be very high. I don't know what the limits are. If the limits are sufficient, it could even be more than $1 million if it's worked up the right way, right? Because you have the injury itself. I don't know if you have economic damages, lost wages. Then you have loss of enjoyment of life, which you can claim. And then you have pain and suffering, past and future. So depending on your age, depending on how this has impacted your life, it could be very significant. I've had a lot of ACL reconstruction cases, and they really depend. Like some of them have gone for like 300,000-400,000. Some of them have gone even higher, like 650, 750. I believe I've read about a few in New York where it was an ACL reconstruction after in a construction accident case, and those have a higher value, and those went even for more than $1 million. So it's hard to say exactly, but it sounds like it's a good case. You're going to get a good result. Okay, let's go to the next question. It's from James Line Bullies, and he says, I was hit by a semi-truck in Wayne, Michigan. I was a passenger in my girlfriend's car. We are 0% liable. I have had many injections and epidurals, also had radio frequency ablation. The semi had a trailer attached. There was $1 million liability policy. The defense doc said I'm fine. It's been going on for 9 months. I had no license, so no insurance, but was a passenger. Was issued a company Farmers. Still no lost wages coming in. How do you know? What do you think I should ask for money-wise? Well, that's a good question. You really shouldn't be the one asking. Your lawyer, who is an expert, right? They're a lawyer. They know what they're doing. They should be the one who's formulating the amount that they're going to be requesting, or the settlement opportunity letter, and they should be communicating with you to make sure you're okay with it, right? Because you don't want them to ask for a low amount. They're like, wait a minute, I got what I asked for. That's not what I wanted. I'm the client. Well, hello. So definitely have that communication with your lawyer. But from everything you've said here, it's a semi-truck. So number one, make sure that it's only $1 million. Send them a letter and a demand for full insurance disclosure, right? Because there's the primary policy, then there's excess, there could be umbrella, there could be concurrent policies, there could be a separate policy for the trailer as opposed to the tractor. There's a lot of different things. Sometimes they have these MCS90 endorsements in trucks. There's something known as broker liability, shipper liability. There's a lot. It gets a little complicated with trucks, so make sure your lawyer is a truck accident specialist. Like we are a member of the American Truck Accident Attorneys. It's a group, and they have a lot of attorneys who are truck accident specialists. They know trucks, they'll get you every penny of what it's worth. So make sure that, your lawyer either is in that, knows that they're a truck accident specialist, or if they're not, then they can consult with somebody who is and work together and partner. See, I'm all about like doing what's best for the client. So if I don't know something, like if I get a case about, I don't know, some kind of complicated medical issue and I have no idea about it, I'll partner with somebody who's a specialist in that issue. We'll work together. It'll be less money for me, but it'll be better for the client. That's what it's all about, But not every lawyer agrees with that philosophy, because it's capitalism. People want money for themselves. But then at that point, what they're really doing is they're making money off of other people's injuries to the patient's and the client's ultimate detriment, right? And you don't want that. So you just have to be careful. But yeah, it sounds like you have a good case. I mean, you're a passenger, you've been treating for 9 months. If it is only $1 million policy, I would say with those injuries like epidurals and ablations, it could be worth like $150,000, $200,000, maybe more, if that's all you're ever going to have. If you're going to need something more like a spinal fusion or a discectomy, like percutaneous discectomy, which is also pain management, but it's just a little bit more invasive than the epidurals, then I would say it could be worth even like $500,000 or more. But it sounds like you have a great case. So yeah, good luck to you. Good luck to you, and thank you for asking. Okay, let's go to the next question, and it's from Airborne, and he or she says, this might sound like a really dumb question. Well, no, there's no such thing as dumb questions. Don't worry about that. But the payouts for bodily injury is a separate check from the payout for car damages. My car is totaled, so the insurance would pay for that, separate from my bodily injury. Okay, right, so they're asking about how the payouts are made. So usually what happens is you get into a car crash, right? So first, you're gonna get paid for your property damage. Now, if you have collision, your insurance will pay for your property damage. If you don't have collision, then the other car's insurance, the car who was at fault, who rear-ended you or was otherwise at fault, will pay for your property damage. Yeah, that check usually comes fairly quickly. You get that check in the first few weeks, right? Now, the bodily injury, you have to get your medical care because they don't know what your injury is, right? So you can't get that check. So it comes in a separate check. And it might be in like 6 months when you finish your medical care, if it's going to be settled as a claim. Now, if you're going to sue, then it might be even longer than that. Then it might be, in 2-3 years when the case is all over, if it goes before a jury, and then they have to give you all those things like the past pain and suffering, the future pain and suffering, but then you're going to get a lot more usually if you're taking it the distance and going to court. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, but that's actually a good question. And now we have another question from an Ankit Patel, and he says, I had a question. I was in a big accident. I almost lost my life. A dump truck hit me full force, but the police report said that the Ford car was making a right and failed, I think, to yield, maybe? It said failed yo. I don't know what failed yo means, but I think he means failed to yield. Make a right turn, so climb goes to Ford, or the blame goes to Ford. So they're trying to blame another car, and he's saying, like, who's at fault and who should we sue? Well, again, you shouldn't be making that decision. You can't really know. Your lawyer should sue everybody who could potentially be at fault, right? So if one person is like 99% at fault, the dump truck, but then this other car maybe is only potentially 1% at fault, the lawyer should still sue both of them because, you have to cover all your possibilities. And then in terms of the fault, that'll be decided either by the lawyer reaching a settlement with the insurance company for these vehicles, or it'll be decided by a jury if it goes to trial. So you try to be as persuasive as you can for your side and explain why you were not at fault, why these other people were, and then the jury will decide that. Okay, I hope that was helpful. And then let's go to the next question. It's from Personal Injury Show. They say, awesome information, very useful for the general public. Thank you so much. Thank you. We try to be, we try to answer your questions. And then the next question after that, we have a lot of comments. Thank you for sharing. My friend said you're handsome. Oh, thank you. And then what do we have? Oh, here's a question. Okay, Young's World. He says, quick, question mark. I'm in personal injury case in Michigan. Happened almost 9 months ago. I was a passenger and I got T-boned on the passenger side. Then got pushed into a telephone pole on the passenger side where he was sitting. So obviously he was impacted. I have been waiting for my household service the whole time, had my deposition, had MRI, and now I'm getting shots in the lower lumbar area and neck. My lawyer keeps saying I have to see Progressive's doctor, who the car that hit me has. I also have Nationwide through PIP. That's personal injury protection. That's no fault. I think he's in Michigan, right? They have no fault, and New York also has no fault. Okay. Do they have a time limit for me to see their doctor and start getting my household funds before they are neglected and I continue to go with no income? And my lawyer has my 9 months worth of household service already, and the adjuster at deposition asked me if I was receiving the funds already. That confused me, because if they got to pay me, they would know if I was getting it, right? LOL. I'm in Detroit. I think I have a good lawyer, but never been in an accident before. Any thoughts or knowledge? Thank you. And your videos are not only helpful, but knowledgeable. Oh, okay. Thank you. So I think the main question that Young's World is asking is about this issue of not getting like household services and no fault benefits, because Progressive is saying that he has to see their doctor, their IME doctor. And is there any type of time limit for that? Well, with IMEs, there's usually like two different IMEs, right? A pre-litigation IME before you file a lawsuit is just to check you out and then say, oh, you're not that hurt, so we're going to stop your medical care. Because remember, with PIP or no fault, the insurance company of the car that you're physically sitting in, your car, will pay for all your medical care up to $50,000, right? So it's like health insurance. So then the insurance company, like in this case, I believe it's Progressive, could send you to an IME, really a DME, a defense medical, and then they'll just say, you know what, you don't need any more treatment. Or sometimes if it really is a serious injury, they could say, you do need more treatment, and they'll extend it. And then if you don't like their decision, at least here in New York, the way it works is then you could arbitrate it, or you could contest it, and you could say, look, another doctor is saying that you do need more treatment. So then it becomes a battle of the experts. Like the insurance company's doctor says no, your doctor says yes. Now, in terms of time limits, they like to do that usually quickly, right? Because what that does is it gets them the ability to deny you and stop paying for your medical care. Now, the other type of IME or DME is after you file a lawsuit and the case is in court. There, the doctor examines you and says, usually, you're not hurt. And then they use that doctor at trial to testify before the jury, right? Because you use your doctors, the guys you're going to, the ladies, whoever, all the doctors that you're going to, the medical providers, right? You have the emergency room doctor, the chiropractor, the physical therapist, maybe orthopedic surgeon. You're treating doctors. But the insurance company doesn't have any doctors. The only doctor they could have is the doctor they send you to, right? So that's how that works. So then, so it's like two different doctors. And, there's not really, the time limit for the litigation doctor is usually after depositions. Usually they do it. But I'm not really, it's a little bit of a complicated thing. So I would definitely say speak to your lawyer if you want to consult with another lawyer, in Detroit. I do know a lot of good lawyers in Detroit. So if you need a consult, just feel free to text me. I can hook you up with somebody in Detroit. I think I know 2 or 3 really good lawyers in Detroit that specialize in personal injury that are really, really good trial lawyers. Okay, let's do maybe like one more question because we're almost at 20 minutes. I don't want to make these videos too long. Let's do 1 or 2 more questions and then we'll end. Scuba RTA asks, I was a passenger in an accident in September and we were hit by a drunk driver who ran a red light. I spent a day and a half in the hospital. I have a fractured sternum and multiple herniated discs with severe nerve impingement on S1. The policy the guy had is $250,000 per person. Do you think I'll get close to that amount? Yeah, I think you should be able to get either close or the whole amount. Now, again, find out if there's any excess or umbrella, because $250,000, usually like when you have 25 policies, 25,000, or you have 50,000, or you have even 100,000, usually there's not going to be any excess or umbrella beyond that because those are lower policies. But with $250,000, you could have $250,000 with $1 million excess or $1 million umbrella. So then it becomes 1.25, right? So definitely find out if that exists. And a fractured sternum, herniations. Now, it depends on what you do for the herniation, but if it needs pain management, yeah, it could definitely be worth $250,000. I don't think he mentioned where this happened, but, it sounds like it could definitely be worth that amount. So I would say yes. Let's see. Let's do 1 more question. Okay, from Kingstorm718, and he says, have 2 herniated discs with a bulge. And then he says, I don't know what my case is valued at. Do you have any ideas? I'm currently getting treatment. Well, remember, if you're still getting treatment, it's too early to think about value, right? Because you're still getting treatment. So the more treatment you get, the more procedures you do, then the value increases. For example, if you start treatment and then you have like 2 bulging discs or 2 herniated discs, it might be worth only $10,000. But then if you have an epidural, well, now it's worth $50,000. And then if you have a percutaneous discectomy, well, now it's worth $200,000. And then if you end up needing a surgery like a spinal fusion, well, now it's worth $2 million. So it just keeps going up because you're getting more procedures and it becomes more serious, and your life is, it's a life-changing injury and it really is affecting you. So that's really, really important to keep in mind. So definitely start thinking about value once you finish your treatment. But I would definitely ask, speak to the lawyer that's handling the case, because they should know all of these other factors, right, that determine value, like which city, what's the liability like, what's the impact on your life, how much are the insurance limits. Like, I don't want to tell you it's worth $2 million and then you tell me, oh, well, by the way, it's a $25,000 policy. Well, I mean, you could get $2 million, but then you're not going to get the actual money, right, because it's only a $25,000 policy. So all these things have to be under consideration. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching our channel. We're going to do more Last Week Tonight's, answering more questions, and talk to you very, very soon. Have a great day, everyone. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and let us know what questions you have so we can answer them here on Last Week Tonight. Okay, bye-bye.